So for anybody that doesn't know me, we'll learn a bit more about Varicent and the product a bit later, but I've been in the industry for a number of years. And as we talk about the Euros and what's going on, it was wrong of me not to utilize that as a way to bring to life how we can use information that we gather today in a more prominent way. So at the moment, we've got the European Championships, and the English team are on the eve of something that's historical. We could be in the European Championship final for the first time in our history. And it's come through changes of personnel, it's come through changes of management styles, and we've had many years of good and bad times as we've gone through it. And this is cyclical of sports in totality, but actually of football. If you think back to 2014, the German football team actually went on to win the World Cup, utilizing a new set of information that they'd never trialed before. They were gathering data on their team during training to highlight how people were performing at optimal levels. They were then leveraging information around their competition about how they can effectively understand which players are likely to have bursts of energy at what point in time. If it gets to a penalty shootout, who had the adaptability to deal with the pressure in the way that was useful to them? If you were a goalkeeper, and anybody that saw the European Championship final, Manchester United, it was 11-10 in the final, penalties going backwards and forwards. And David De Gea, the goalkeeper for Manchester United, had to score to keep them in. Didn't look as if he stood a chance. He stood up, took the penalty and missed. All of this information was there available to their coaches and managers to allow them to drive a different outcome to what happened. And what Germany did back in 2014, and what a number of teams are doing now, is leveraging that data to coach their team and make decisions more accurately and when it is essential. So, coaching, we talked about that this morning on a panel discussion. When is the right time to coach? Fundamentally, like football managers, we're always coaching our teams. We're always giving guidance. We may not be, I'm certainly not standing on the sideline shouting, get back into the left back position. Make sure that you're getting ahead of him when the ball comes in. We're doing it in a different way. We're leveraging the same information that's there to support us, but in a way that allows us to guide the outcome of our people and our team to get the result we want. So if we take this concept and we take it into a business world, and so the majority of people on this call will be business to business salespeople. And research shows that effectively 20 to 25% of an organization's investment goes into their salaries and their people, which is a huge amount of money. So if we're talking about coaching, if we're leveraging the data, why do we not leverage it in a way that allows us to actually get the outcome that we desire, which is beneficial for everybody? So you're all sitting here saying, Matt, this is great. You could be a pundit like Rio Ferdinand and Alan Shearer and tell us the outcome of tonight, but they're much better at it. So why are you talking about this? So at Varicent, we offer an application called the Sales Performance Management Tool. And whenever anybody talks about it, they think it's just a way to make sure that people get paid commission. But actually it's not. What we do is we consume data to provide that information to managers, to executives like myself, to make the decisions that are required to influence where our business trajectory is going to end up. In the German situation, when they won it in 2014, they were able to use data that they gathered during training programs, during pre-season and close season, to understand through simulations when players were likely to fall off the peak, when their performance was likely to decrease. And so therefore, they realized that they had the ability to make substitutions and changes throughout the period of time, but at the right time to influence the game, to influence the drive. And that's effectively what we can do utilizing sales performance management. So we gather the data because it's coming from your CRM platforms, your cognizant platforms, as you mentioned before, even from things like your HR applications. So we have this plethora of information that's there to support an organization. But we don't necessarily take advantage of it in the right way. We don't necessarily leverage the tools in a way that's beneficial to us or to our employees, because fundamentally, the people that really make the difference are the people on the pitch. And an interesting statistic that is that inside of sales at the moment, the turnover rate of salespeople is roughly 35%. So if you imagine you're on a pitch playing football and you're on tonight, last 15 minutes and you get substituted off, you're not happy about it because you're not happy about your performance, You're not happy that the manager's taken you off, and therefore you don't understand. Actually, our sales teams and our people inside of our organizations understand because they have access to that data if they have an application like Varicent. And now what's the benefit of all of this? It means that we can build a team that allows us to deliver what we desire. So Roberto Mancini, he is the Italian coach, and Italy are in the final. If we are lucky enough to beat Denmark tonight, which I certainly hope we do, we will play Italy in the final. Now, Italy have been on a 31-game unbeaten run to get to the final of this World Cup. And Roberto Mancini has made some really difficult calls throughout his career as the Italy coach. He's brought back a trusted team around him. He's brought in Gianluca Vialli, who was a teammate of his in the past. He's structured his team in a way that allows him to get the right mechanics out to the players on the pitch in the way that they both see as being the correct manner for them to get the outcome they desire. But more importantly, he's also not selected certain players that would not gel with the team that he was trying to create. Now, having an application like a sales performance management tool allows you the visibility into planning and gathering that data so that you can then decide where you should have your staff and why. So why should I have 2 people based in France versus 1 in the UK? Is it because of the demographic of the people? Is it the opportunity? Or is it down to the nature of their skills inside of that territory? And leveraging an application like the Varicent tool gives you that visibility. But what that means is, again, is it means it gives you the ability to model the outcomes. It gives you the ability to see if you get to the final, who should be in there, who's likely to be injured. But more importantly, it allows your team to understand that they're trusted. Anybody that was watching the game last night after the penalties would have noticed that at the end of the match, all of the Italy players actually went to the side of the pitch and put on a new jersey. And it was of a player that had had an influential role to get them to that point in time. Because they're a unit, they're a unified organization that has visibility of what's expected through them right the way from bottom to the top. And that's what an application like Varicent can help you do. And so one of the key things that we're learning all the time from sporting events and other teams that leverage this is that data is key. But we don't leverage it in a way that we see as being successful, and we don't necessarily take advantage of it in a way that allows us to drive what we want. So having that predictive capability, having that guided analytics in the form of an augmented intelligence application supplies you that visibility. So going back to the German situation, the manager at the time turned around and said that he made a substitution of his star player because after the numbers that had ran through the analysis, that he showed that he was only ever going to degrade in performance. He was only ever going to get worse because he had peaked. And when he told this person this over an interview, and the interview's on YouTube, his face dropped. He then rested him for the following game and put him into the final, and he scored the goal that won in the World Cup. And even after all of that, utilizing the information that was there to him allowed him to make the right decisions at the right time. Now, we've talked about the football, we've talked about how technology can help, but we're in a different world right now. We're learning a new normal. Hopefully on the 19th of July, we'll all be able to get back into a normality that we're used to. But that doesn't necessarily mean the business is going to change as quickly as we are. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to adapt these ideas and businesses are going to procure or work with us in the same way. So whatever we do and whatever we look to do in the future, utilizing technology, we have to make sure it's adaptable enough that it can address the changes. The predictions are that we're likely to go through peaks and troughs over the next few years. Technology has to support that. Much like this evening when the English team are going to go out and hopefully win the game to take us into the final. They'll go through peaks and troughs, but their fans and their people around them will be there to support them and give them the guidance they need. They'll have the information that's readily available for them to do that. The reason I talk through this is because there's a lot of evidence that supports transparency that leads to trust, which then leads to outcome and performance. And so on our website and after today, feel free to go and look at a report that we've written or a report that's been written on our behalf by Serious Decisions that give a framework that talk about this, because this isn't just a one-time mechanism. Transparency is key, but coaching and guidance are the key things that help drive the outcome you desire. And from that perspective, that's how Varicent can help you. And hopefully that's how technology can help you as we move forward in the future. fundamentally, we all like a nice success story. I think the key thing is if England win the European Championships, we'll all be off on Monday. So it's going to be a great time to meet James.